Welcome, Cancer, to your Cancer 2022 annual calendar year reading and forecast. Hi, I'm Nigel Saint James. For those of you who are stopping by for the first time, and we hope to see you again, join us here on our fascinating club here in the Tarotverse. Now I'm going to draw 12 cards, one for each month, but I would counsel you, go and have a look at my playlist. And on the playlist, it's really easy to find. You will get the in-depth monthly readings, which definitely flesh out everything that we have here, because in a sense we're kind of limited by time, aren't we, by virtue of the ground that we need to cover in this annual reading, because time is our enemy. I know that your time is very precious, and so we'll try and keep it to a very manageable length. And when you do have a look at those readings and forecasts, understand always that you can get a private reading with me. Just check out the information in the box below. But let's see what there is. Well, for the first half of the year, starting in January through to June, there's the Wheel of Fortune, the Ace of Cups, the Hanged Man, the Emperor, the Pope, and the Nine of Wands. So let's see what the back half of the year has to say, shall we? And there is the Two of Coins. Marvelous. The Knight of Swords. Gee, I think this is going to be your best year ever. Let's have a look at it. See what there is here. The Hermit. Good old Hermit. He's always a good guy. There's the Ten of Coins. Gee, that's a lovely card to have. And what else is there here? We need two more. Ten of Cups. And from in here, we have the Star. So in the second half, the Two of Coins, the Knight of Swords, the Hermit, the Ten of Coins, the Ten of Cups, and the Star for the back half of the year. Well, come and sit down here next to me now, as is our usual practice. We'll have a good close look at these cards together. I might use my pen to point out some of the interesting aspects of the paintings that are in here while I do the reading for you. All right, I think you might be able to see those. Now let's have a look at this first card here, which is the Wheel of Fortune. Now the art on these cards is very important, and so I'll go through the art because it will also give you subconsciously hints as to what's going on here. Now here is the Wheel of Fortune. Well, the wheel itself is golden, and around it are the figures, the glyphs, if you like, of the zodiac itself. Now, Blind Fortune stands behind the wheel, and her wings, look at her red wings here, and this is interesting, her head, the wings, and her hands, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they touch the wheel in 7 places, and that's indicative of the 7 classical planets, the Sun out to Saturn, of course. And on this side of the wheel here, now on the ruler of the wheel here, we have somebody who's holding a scepter and a sphinx. That's the ruler of the wheel. This blue circle, which is around and behind the lady there, I think that really speaks to her of everyday life and living through everyday life. Now there is a blue figure here ascending the wheel, chasing after a crown, and an older man, this is a younger man, and an older man here on fire slips into the sea. Now there are 2 ships at the bottom of the wheel itself, and they also act as the footstands for the Wheel of Fortune herself. They have snakes entwined as figureheads for her. This guy's falling down, chasing his golden crown, which is about to be enveloped by the sea, where he will end up. And here is an old man who is thrashing about helplessly in the sea himself. I call this card the Lord of the Forces of Life. It is Jupiter, and it speaks to you now for this year, and it will carry through you for the year abundance, prosperity, and fortune. this is speaking to you. Jupiter is the planet which is all over this card, you know, bringing great luck, the great benefic. And it speaks to you of new beginnings, expansion, creativity. A big breakthrough, I think, may well come through for you in this month. Self-realization and unexpected fortune. Now, you might ask yourself, in what form might that good fortune come to you? Because there is luck here, chances coming your way, opportunity, winning. Now, there will be some ups and downs, of course, but I'm also getting the feeling of almost like a karmic rhythm running through the month, almost like fate coming about here. Is the possibility of a life-changing meeting. This is a definite yes for you this month, and if miracles are not occurring, there is something wrong. Well, excellent news. Let's have a look at this card here, which is the Ace of Cups. Wonderful. Gee, you got good luck already. I think I might. Can I come and stay at your place? I think I'd like to see what's going on here. Now, look at this painting. What do we have down here? Cups. So it's water. And this is the root of the powers of the water. Aces are about potential. And at the bottom here we have shards of ice, which is no problem for this tabby cat, which is suckling 3 young kittens. At the base of the stem of the cup is a shell, and in the middle here there is a pearl. The base itself is made of, well, it looks like a serpent's tail, tortoise shell, and a heart. You see this red heart here? Beneath the base of the chalice or the cup are swan feathers and fruits. This is a hexagonal, which means 6-sided thing here. Now, the number 6 for me has a real association with Christ consciousness, with Krishna consciousness, and with Shiva. So there is a great degree of great divine presence coming with you in this month. Now, the woman here, she is suckling 2 infants, one on either breast. Guarding her below, she's trampling a snake underfoot, and guarding her are 2 horned dolphins. At the top of the painting is a dove, which I would suggest represents the Holy Spirit, and it is bleeding or putting through drops of blood which go first into this lotus flower, and then they run down into the cup, through the fruits, and down to the stem itself. This is a time that speaks to you of the real opportunity for building new relationships. Now, it doesn't just have to be romantic relationships, although it's very good for romantic relationships. Maybe the beginning of a new romance. There's the deepening love coming through here. Deepening love in a relationship, and if you are in a committed partnership, I suggest that there is going to be a deepening level of satisfaction, enjoyment, and love that's associated there. You have at your disposal now the offer from unconditional love. Are you going to accept it? Probably the best card that you can have for love and relationships. Let's have a look at the Hanged Man in March. See what he has to tell us, shall we? Where are we? There you go, Hanged Man. Well, it seems to me that the imagery in this painting here really runs along the theme of the blood sacrifice. The scaffold that the Hanged Man is hanging from, you see this 3-sided scaffold here, well, that is entwined with grapes that ooze red juice. At the right pillar is a pelican. Now, you might just see her. Now, tradition has it that the mother pelican would peck her own breast to raise blood, which she would then feed to her young. Here is a sacrificial lamb with its throat having been cut. Over here you see the utensils, hammer, pincers and nails. They of course are reminiscent of the Christ crucifixion motif. And what else is going through here? The hanged man himself seems to be quite okay. From his pockets fall coins that go into the sea itself. And there is a dragon here, which is on this side, that is eating its own tail, and that is a signifier of the occult, saying that that which is happening above also happens below. I call this the spirit of the mighty waters. The planet which is associated with this is the planet of Neptune, the watery planet of Neptune, which is about innovation, breaking boundaries, moving into new territory and new areas. I think what there is here is that there is the end of a situation or relationship which is stuck. Now that might mean that what is stuck frees itself, or it might mean that you move away from the relationship. Now again, it doesn't just have to be romantic relationships. It could be a friendship. It could be a social relationship. It could be a work relationship. It could be the relationship that you have with a supplier, or if you're in sales, it could be that which is with a prospect. There's a sense of giving up and surrendering yourself to karma and to fate here. And I think that you'll be learning to see things in a new way. There is the necessity here for you to break through old behavior patterns, which you shall do. You will be going through something of a metamorphosis. You'll be turning from the caterpillar into that beautiful butterfly. And there is here also a great degree of spiritual advancement as well. Fantastic set of energy that's there, fantastic. What comes next for you? January, February, March, in April, we have the Emperor. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because this is a very strong Aries card, and the Emperor has, for me, Aries written all over him, and April is the month of Aries. Yes, well, it seems to me that many details of this artwork here point to the Emperor's rank as supreme ruler of the elements. The awesome and potentially destructive power of the four elements are represented by pictures of apocalyptic landscapes showing, if I can have a look down here, the winds, blowing winds here. Then there is lava from the earth and a volcano. Here we have fire coming up, and here we have a ship sinking at sea, which shows the destructive power of water, that apocalyptic power of the water. The platform and its symbols, therefore, I think represent the elemental chaos which the Emperor rules and puts to order. Now, have a look at this yellow cube that the Emperor is sitting on here. That yellow cube is draped with a fiery red robe. The colors yellow and red are of power and activity. Now, I'm just looking at this armor that he has. I was in Prague in a museum one time, and this armor looks to me just like the armor that was on top of the coffin of a guy who was called Emperor Rudolf of Habsburg. And he's got a hat here of ermine, which is sitting on top of his head. That's a sort of a fur, I think. Maybe I've miscalled it ermine, but I think that's what you do call them. You ladies will know better about that than I do, I suggest. And what he has here is that the crown is also decorated with pyramids and the imperial eagle. Now on his breast are the sun and the moon here. And there's a gold braid around his neck. Now I'm just assuming that might well have been a gift from the Empress. Now there is a tulip which is appearing down here. That comes from, I assume that comes from, you often see a tulip like this where you have the Fool and the Magician cards. They're not in this spread here, but that's where that comes from. And I think what's also important here is that he holds a lily-headed scepter with a crescent moon as the handle on himself there. Yes, Aries is a very strong energy, as I say, that I'm getting here, which is pioneering, breaking out, energetic, which is what you'll be. You'll be a discoverer. I think people will see that you have great leadership ability during this period. You'll be an initiator. You'll be making things happen. And you'll have a great degree of creative wisdom, really good leadership qualities, an urge for action, adventurousness, new beginnings. Now, this is also a very good energy for fatherhood here, so I think one might find that you are involved in acting as a father figure for somebody else, or dealing with your father or a father figure, or there might be an addition to a family. You could be having a child as a father, and of course if you're married or partnered with somebody, that would make sense. But I think that order and structure are going to be important to you. You'll have a great degree of ambition, and I think you'll be taking a stand. You'll be firm with yourself and with other people, and there is the great possibility here, I think, that you could be promoted in your work life, if your external work life, to a senior role, and if you're working around the home, you might be taking on more complicated, more complex, trying more complicated and complex things around your home, which could include cooking, which could include gardening, which could include hair, fashion, makeup, that type of thing. You might change your look. Well, here we have the Pope, and he has a jovial face, and that just augments the benevolence of the Pope here. Yet his hair is white, and his face is lined with experience. Now, he raises his right hand in a blessing, doesn't he? And in his left hand is a staff with now what are the symbols on top of that? They're the planets: Mercury, the Sun, the Moon, Mars, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and with the thunderbolt of Jupiter down at the bottom here. There are all those planets on top of there. I don't know if you can make those out. Now, one of the interesting things is the hat that he wears. You see how it's in like 3 layers like that? Well, this bottom layer here, that has depictions of things of the natural world, trees and animals and things like that. The next tier here has the crown of thorns of Christ's passion, representing worldly life and free will. And at the top, which is just made out with geometric patterns here, just geometric symbols, I would say that represents the spiritual realm, and it is represented by those geometrical symbols. Now, the 2 pillars that are around him, I was at the Vatican in Rome having as a tourist, and these pillars here are a copy of the pillars which hold up the main canopy over the main altar that's over there. And that is, of course, at St. Peter's Cathedral in Rome. Now, at the foot of the throne here, well, there's a couple of monks kneeling in prayer. And what's happening is that the throne the platform looks like it's moving forward, which shows to me that actually what's more interesting along here is there's a number of things here. There's a peacock for pride. There's some people fighting. There's a naked woman having sex. And around here, these are the depictions from left to right of running from left in each of these little things going around here. From left to right, they are the 7 vices, and they are pride, wrath, lust, gluttony, envy, sloth, and a dromedary camel seems to be representing avarice. But the Pope triumphs over the sins of the world. Now, these 2 monks, as I say, kneel on either side of the platform here, and the edge of the throne seems to be leaning forward, symbolizing mercy and receptiveness to the needs of others. This for me esoterically is the magus of the eternal gods. What can I say? A lot of Taurus energy around here. You will, I think, be called upon to become an advisor, a counselor to people during this period. People are coming to you because you see in this period here where you were seen as being a natural-born leader. Well, people are now coming to you, asking for help, asking for advice, asking your opinions on things, sorting out problems for them. You'll become almost like a parental figure to people here. There'll be a degree of group identity around here. If you're working in a large institution, such as the public service, it's going to be very good for you. Learning and teaching is something that's here. A period of intense learning. Now, I don't mean by taking a college course or something like that, but you might be just surfing through the internet, looking up things that you don't know and seeing how to make things happen. Yes, it's Venus ruling Taurus with the moon exalted. Fantastic set of astrology for you in that card. Here we have the Nine of Wands. What do you have to say to us, Nine of Wands? Let's have a look at you. Well, I really can't help but think that these seamen here have been on the liquor and are sleeping it off. And I notice their colours here, they are the progressive colours of the rainbow, aren't they? And yet in the distance here, there are Saracens or pirates about to land where they are. And so I think these people will soon, maybe with a hangover, wake to the imminent danger that's there before them and will be called upon to use their strength, which is what you will be doing, because this is the moon ruling the second decan of Sagittarius, that 3rd to the 12th of December. Now, as a 9, I have mystically the planet of the moon associated with the 9 as well. So you have a double lunar influence, as the moon rules both the decan of Sagittarius, that second decan, and it's ruling here as well. This is the Lord of great strength, and I suspect that what will be happening for you is that you'll find that you obtain power through unifying conscious and unconscious energies. There'll be a wholeness to you at this period. You'll have great determination and strength of character. Now, you'll have courage under fire, just as these people are about to have here, and you'll be defending what you have worked for, and you'll be successful in that defense. When the unconscious becomes visible, and that's that double lunar influence, you could be faced with many things you have covered up in order to avoid looking at them. This can produce a fear of some sort, the fear of feeling painful wounds you've covered up and hoped to forget. There may also simply be the fear of your own yet unproven strength, which reaches into all the areas of your life, reorganizing them. But you have a budding self-realization here, which allows no return to the familiar situation of maybe reticence. You'll have tremendous strength and courage at this time, and a desire to compete and win. Turn to the Two of Coins. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this painting looks to me as if it is. Well, this is really a painting of a thing called Susanna and the Elders. Now, that's a book of the Bible, but it's only contained in the Bible for Orthodox Christians and Catholics. It doesn't appear in the Hebrew Bible, and it doesn't appear in Protestant Bibles. Let's look to see what there is first here. This is this coin here has the Triumph of Mercury. This coin here has a number of books in a library with a quill and an ink pot. And here is a naked woman admiring herself. Now, the story of Susanna was that she was married to a much older, wealthier man, and she would, in the afternoons, go and take a bath in her own, in her courtyard. And what would happen is that two old guys would spy on her while she was naked and having a bath. Anyway, one afternoon she dismissed her slave girl, I suppose it would be in those days, and she took the bath. And when she got out of it, the two old guys came down and they said, "Look, you need to have sex with us, otherwise we're going to tell everybody that you've been committing adultery with a younger man." She refused to do so, of course, being a woman of moderation and integrity. And those guys went out and they told everybody. So she was put on trial for adultery, which would have meant that she was going to be executed. Anyway, you've heard of Daniel from the Hebrew and Christian Bibles? Well, in this story, it was a young Daniel that said we should cross-examine each of the two men independently. And during the cross-examination, where they said Susanna had sex with the young man under a tree, they, in their independent cross-examinations, gave a different description. One said it was under a small tree of one type, and another one said it was under a huge tree of another type, and so clearly they were found out to be liars. She was exonerated, and the old guys, for false testimony, were themselves put to death, as is the happy ending for that story. Now, this is Jupiter ruling the first decan of Capricorn. I call it the Lord of Harmonious Change. Now, that Capricorn decan is the 23rd of December to the 2nd of January. Now, Jupiter, of course, is all about good fortune. But Jupiter in Capricorn, now, it's potentially inharmonious because Jupiter is all about expansion and Capricorn is all about conservatism and practicality. And so you think there might be some problems here, but we're a long way up on the top of the suit here, being in the 2, just next to the ace, and so I don't see that there is a problem here. There is for you now movement, flux, having some ups and downs, growth through change, multitasking. I think you could have quite a heavy load, a workload, but you'll be enjoying your work. And I think there may well be a welcome change that's coming along now, moving you into a better place, change and transformation. There's nothing set in stone materially or financially at this time, so things can go forward well. And what do we have? That would have been July, and here is August. Have a look at you, August. Well, here we have a horse and rider in full armor, galloping wildly in a desolate landscape. Now, peacock feathers are in the knight's helmet here, which displays something of a degree of pride, I would assume. And on the horse's head is quite an oriental symbol of a red dragon. There's also another oriental symbol here, which is that of the yin-yang symbol, which you see in Eastern religions here. There is like the collar of the dog, the guard dog, around the horse's foot itself. Plenty of armor, great looking guy. And what else is of interest? That is here, let me see. The main things here, and then on the ground there are 3 flowers, 1, 2, and a third one which grows up through a skull. Now I call him the Knight of the Chariots of the Winds. Now, bear in mind that these court cards can be either male nor female, or female, irrespective of how they happen to be presented, but I'll refer to it as a he for the obvious reason that's here. And I'll also say that as a knight he's air, and in the suit of swords he's air, so he's the airy part of air. Lots of air, lots of activity, plans. But the challenge is, although you'll have lots of mental energy thinking about lots of things, you need to make sure that you remain in control and actually crystallize things. Now, it could be someone that you know as well. In that case, it's likely to be an Aquarius, I think. Could be a Capricorn. It's a young man who is intellectual, full of ideas and plans, very clever, but quite unstable in a way. Someone who can be domineering, somebody who is elusive and hard to pin down, and somebody who can be quite impressionable. But I think that this is a period of time when your intuition will be coming to the fore. You will have enormous ability for creative thinking and of cutting through of all entanglements. You'll be coming free of limited ideas and models, and you will cut through that mental maelstrom that's going on, that mental storm of ideas, and start to channel your thoughts into something which is able to be put together in clear, achievable, measurable steps. You will have very clear perception during this time, and things will come into being for you. Here we have the Hermit. Let's see what you have to say, Hermit. Now, having a look at the artwork on here, here's an old man with a white beard. This hat that he has on here, this is a hat that's worn by those days, the monks of Athos, Mount Athos. Mount Athos is in Greece. The legend has it, and there are a lot of monasteries in Mount Athos, and I'm assuming that this is Mount Athos, one of the monasteries of Mount Athos that's there. The legend has it that the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, went to this part of the world and was so enraptured by it that she said to her son, who was still alive at that time obviously, "Look, can you turn this into a garden for me?" Which he dutifully did. And the legend has it that because it was the sacred garden to the Virgin Mary, the mother, that one person, that no other women were able to set foot onto Mount Athos or into the monasteries themselves. Now, this guy here is what he's saying to me is that this is a time when you will be you'll be very good at listening and very good at speaking. You'll be very good of getting your point of view across. You'll be able to encapsulate your emotional feelings really well to people, and you won't have a problem expressing precisely how you feel emotionally about things. You could well, I think, also be a parental figure to somebody, a counselor, because, again, this is a time when I think almost like a psychologist in a way, or a counselor, because you have a very good understanding of other people's headspace and what drives them. And so that is something which is going to be of benefit to you during that period. A mentor. You'll be mentoring someone. You could be taking somebody on, saying, "Look, I'm going to help you get things done." Here we have this 10 of coins. Well, this is the Lord of material wealth, I have to say. Now, I can't help but notice that this is a pattern here that replicates what is known as the tree of life in Kabbalistic mysticism. I won't go into that now. We often go into that in the monthly readings or aspects of it. And here's this tree is growing up. It's an oak tree. And these are family members, I would assume, who live in this rather imposing house here. Look, the reality is that I think you'll be feeling very prosperous. Your material life is going to be giving you a great degree of satisfaction at this time. And when is this? October. You'll be feeling that things are going well for you in your standard of living. Your standard of living will give you great satisfaction and warmth and a good feeling inside. And particularly when you consider it in relation to how it has been, maybe even 6 months earlier. This is also a time for you to recognize the good things that you do have in your life and to pay things forward, to make sure that you do pay things forward. What have we got here? Let's have a look at it. This is the Ten of Cups. A couple of tens there, next door to each other. Well, here is a city in the olden days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cups. This first cup here is like the entrance across a moat. Here is the gateway cup on which this couple, very happy couple, married I assume in those days, would have been living. Here is the entrance to the central temple, atop of which is a fountain which is producing water. Fountains are always good. It's obviously a prosperous city because there's signs of construction around. This is a time of your life when you'll have a great degree of fullness of love and emotional satisfaction in your life. You'll be thinking that things can't get better. In fact, that thinking that things can't get better may give rise to some degree of restlessness in you, where you think, well, it's not getting any better. Do you know what I mean? Whereas what you need to do is you need to make sure that you are a vessel, almost like a bucket. And if you put a bucket underneath a faucet, then what happens is you turn the faucet on and the water goes into the bucket. It then overflows. You could have the feeling that there is emotions or emotional potential overflowing, and you don't want that, do you? So this is telling you that you need to re-engineer the situation, or just expand yourself from within to obtain greater satisfaction. But a great degree of love, one of the best love cards. You've got the 10 and you've got the ace, and so from the point of view of emotional satisfaction throughout this year, it really doesn't get any better than that. Finally, we have the star. Let's have a look at her. What? Here she is. Well, a young woman kneels on the edge of a pond. Her long blonde hair flows around her naked body to meet the ground perfectly. Now, in her left hand here, you follow this up here, there's a vase. That's reminiscent of an ancient type of architecture called Doric, the first form of architecture, and that shows her simplicity and her rusticness as she can be. And in her right hand here she has a vase which is of the next layer up, more complicated type of pottery or architecture known as Attic, and that shows that she is also sophisticated and intelligent and poised. There is here an acacia tree, which is that of beauty, spirituality, and love growing around her. Here is a red flower with a raven sitting atop it. This water here is, and the reflection of this flower is in the water. Now, above her are two stars, one with 8 points and the other with 5 points, and symbols of the 7 planets of the ancients, the classical planets. Well, now I'd look at that flower again. I think that's a Rosicrucian rose. You might be familiar with the Rosicrucian mystical philosophy, I suppose. Well, I call her the daughter of the firmament. A lot of Aquarius around here. And Aquarius. Aquarius is all about the individual and uniqueness, and yet it has an overall humanitarian outlook. Well, the star shares these qualities in that it is trying to remind you about the divinity and uniqueness that is within you during this time, while encouraging you to be a conduit for bringing down your highest potential. This is a period of high inspiration with you, crystallization of ideas, you making things happen, self-recognition, radiating magnetically outward. I think people are going to find you very attractive at this time, so do with that what you will. You'll have a clear vision, a trust in yourself. There's hope here, happiness, the great card for the end of the year. optimism, cosmic blessings falling down upon you. And you may well find that you really do have a connection to universal consciousness and to the divine love itself. Well, that's the way it is for you this year. Well, I thought that was fascinating, didn't you? It looks like you're going to have a fantastic year ahead of you, probably your best year ever, if I'm any judge of these things. Oh, I think you've got everything going for you, and so you should have too. Now remember, I want to see you in the monthly readings, so don't miss out on those. They're far more in depth than what we've just done now. But until then, remember one thing, and remember it always, and it is that you are a legend. And I look forward to seeing you again next time. Until then, it's bye for now.